Miriam Galdelli from The Adaptive Human. I'm welcoming you to today's episode of the Adaptive Human podcast. Super stoked. I have Brooke Robitaille here with me today, and she is going to be talking to us about the power of hypnosis and how it can be used to change our lives for the better. So she is a successful entrepreneur and business owner, over 10 years of experience in the health and wellness industry. I know that industry very well also. But despite being very accomplished and driven in her professional life, not so long ago, she was still struggling with her personal goals. She was stressed, she was overweight, she was a binge eater. She spent a lot of time and money on diets and programs that didn't work. And her self-confidence was really on the floor. And this is when hypnosis entered her life. So she completed her first full hypnosis program as a client a few years ago, and it allowed her to explore her perception, sensation, thoughts, and behaviors around some of the more harmful impulses that she had. And then she began to gain control over more destructive habits. So she started to reach her goals. She started to increase her self-confidence and the strength of her personal relationships. So it's not an overstatement to say that hypnosis really changed her life. Today, she's a registered hypnotist, and her mission is to help others achieve their goals. It can help you get the tools that you need to effectively and quickly gain control over undesired habits, develop better coping mechanisms, and access a higher level of well-being. And don't we know that we all have bad habits? Welcome, Brooke.
Hi, thank you for that great introduction. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited because what you do is awesome. Like, to really put it mildly, I think we've been learning a lot more about hypnosis and the power of our minds, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes,
it's interesting.
definitely.
It's interesting that you're here, that, you're talking about your business. So before we get into, the nitty gritties of your business, just how did you feel when you first discovered hypnosis?
I was going through a custody battle, and it was right at the beginning of COVID, and my previous business was completely shut down overnight. So I had, I don't like the word breakdown. There was a mental overwhelm. The motherboard was crashing. I like to put it more like that. I find the connotation when people say a breakdown is, there's a connotation in our society, and there's almost like, did they ever come back? So no, really, that crossed someone's mind, like, did they ever get their whole mind back? So I would say there was an overload in the motherboard. I was also overweight, as you said in the intro. I had been a binge eater since I was 12 years old, and I had been yo-yo dieting, and basically just not enjoying my body as a person and as a woman, and then kind of hating myself for, to be honest. I think the thing that I think gets people far really in their life is being honest with themselves and honesty. And that's not popular in our society, right? Because we're always having to put that facade, that face, everything's going well. I'm fine mentally, spiritually, physically, financially, even if someone is not. We're made to like lie about it or sugarcoat it or ice it, even with friends and family, even with friends and family, even with ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's one of the hardest things that happen in hypnosis is, sometimes someone will come to me and they don't even want to say why they want to see me. I know it sounds shocking. Sometimes they can't even say it. It's so scary, for someone to say, I need help in this area. This is really what's going on. They don't even want to tell themselves. So when we can be honest with ourselves, when we want to really grow, that's when the biggest quantum leaps happen. That's when the biggest breakthroughs happen, when we want to slowly face certain fears, face certain traumas, face certain obstacles that we've been in circles for maybe years or decades, or it's been generational. It's been happening 3 generations back, not just for 3 decades, but it could be, three lineages back. So, so the honesty was, I'm like, I saw the opportunity to see a hypnotist, and I thought, I've tried everything else, nothing's worked. I've like read certain books, I did many diets. I had many health coaches, but never a mindset coach. Never in my mind. Always about what I'm eating, how I'm moving, my calories, but never what's happening in here. Never why do I self sabotage? Why am I avoiding? Why am I giving up before I even start all the
Yeah.
time? So yeah.
You know, it's funny because when I was doing my master's a few years ago, there's a professor who works in the department, which actually I went to university with many moons ago, but I decided to do my master's later on in life. And her area of research is weight loss and obesity. And you know, all of the new research is saying that there are 2,000 factors that affect a person's weight. And eating and exercise are only two of the 2,000. So it's really a lot more complex, you know. Um, and so it's a very interesting thing. I'm a foster parent. I see it a lot with the foster kids, right? When stress levels are too high, the first thing they do, they try to control the food, right? They either purge, they eat too much, or they refuse to eat altogether. So it's
Yeah, it's a normal coping mechanism, especially in women, and
mhm.
especially which studies have found, especially women of color. Um, a lot of the time when they're dealing with trauma, because they have regular trauma mixed with colonialist things or labels that society keeps putting on women of color, and because they're being constantly told who they are instead of them telling the world who they are, and because of family dynamics that have been passed on because of colonialist trauma that still affects us today, even though it's not very mainstream. It affects women of color, and I say women of color why? Because it's not just black or brown. It could be like Sri Lankan. A lot of countries that had colonialists, and a lot of these countries have a lot of mixes in them. Like I'm half Jamaican, and there's a lot of mixes in Jamaican, and there's like Indian Jamaicans and Chinese Jamaican. But if there's a mixture there of someone who has a lineage from slavery or colonialism, even though someone like me who's mixed, I still had to unpack. I had to unpack those things, and that's part of why I was a binge eater. I had things passed on from my family, from my Jamaican side, from colonialism that I never unpacked. And one would think, oh, you're in Canada, you're approaching 40. What could you possibly going through? But that was generational trauma that needed to be unpacked.
It
And if I never unpacked that, I wouldn't be where I am right now. I'd still be depressed, broke, and overweight if I hadn't unpacked that.
and you know, there's so much I want to learn about what you do, and like frankly, also racism is still alive and well. You know, my permanent foster kids right now are not white. Um,
Mhm.
they have brown skin, and the amount of people who ask me, "Why are your kids a different color?" or who ask them like, "Why are you so dark and your mom's so white?" Makes no sense, you
Mhm.
know. So it
Mhm.
does affect you, right? It does affect them. I say it affects them more than it affects me because I guess I'm jaded and accept that.
Well, yeah, and you know, we as people of color are byproducts of this dynamic now. We're taught, oh, it's all gone, it's fine. Like, but
And it's not.
keep in mind, only up until 5 years ago, women of color of power are seen in society and media. Before 5 years ago, you know, the Michelle Obamas, for me, the shows like Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder, seeing women of color in powerful positions, having a good self-concept, meaning they know exactly who they are. They're calling the shots. They have money. They've worked on their self-concept, meaning like they've worked on what their blockage is. That's only very recent. Young people in our society, they're getting used to seeing people of color, um, you know, or non-Europeans in powerful positions only recently, like in our
Yeah.
media, which is very normal, or in beauty magazines. When I was growing up, there were not many
No.
people, maybe look mixed, but they were not black women. They were not those Lupitas in the magazines. I couldn't even, I'm also was a makeup artist. I couldn't even find hardly my color, and I'm a very light color. Like just things like that shows society shows us our value and how we're included by like not band-aids, foundation not being able to find.
Well, beauty schools
Yeah.
only now announced that they will be including um, like curly hair, kinky hair into the curriculum. I have a coaching client actually who is white, but her children are mixed, and she's a hairstylist and wants to learn more about how to do their hair, because not only does she want to do their hair, but she wants to serve other kids in the community or people in the community, and she cannot find a place to teach her.
Yeah, exactly. So when we're seeing this, any people, and that's why I like to say people of color, when we see this, people like to say, oh, it's just they don't have your color. So what? No, people are not stupid. And subconsciously, when we're seeing those things every day, subconsciously people want to talk about it. But me, I'm no longer want to hide these things. I want our society to work on this, because this is how our society is really going to go forward. And you work with entrepreneurs. This is how an entrepreneur is really going to go forward. They have to unpack everything, because I am my business. The more healing and the more things that I unpack and I work on my self-concept of who I really think I am subconsciously, that's the how far my business can go. If I don't believe I'm worthy, if I don't believe I'm truly a successful woman, if I don't believe I'm truly chosen, I'm truly number one, if I don't unpack that, which is family dynamics, whatever thoughts we had put on ourselves growing up, what teachers said about us growing up in school, little things that we remember, that impacts our self-concept. If society saying our value of us, if we don't work on that self-concept and break through all those subconscious boundaries, then we can't bring our business to the next level, because we are our business.
Yeah. I can talk about this for hours, and as you're talking about this, I even had that image, and I forgot what movie it was, where there's like a coach who made all of the kids or something line up and said, okay, if you're from a single parent household, take
Yes,
2
I
steps back.
remember that.
And that, I think that for me, like, I was a white person who grew up in a white family, did not realize everything that was going around, but you mentioned something interesting for me as a coach, as somebody who studies NLP, self-concept.
So important. It impacts everything, and our society is just scratching the surface of that. Different industries call it different things. I think like NLP probably has a different concept of it. Hypnosis, my view of how I coach, but any form of self-work that is really impactful, in my opinion, usually has to have a form of self-concept that they're working on in the program for it to have extreme change on the person's psyche and success.
Interesting. And it must be hard to build a proper self concept. We don't live in a society where you have to look. I have so many clients, like one recently who said to me, like, I'm a procrastinator, I need to be more productive, but I can give you tips on how to be productive, right? But I need to know why you're not productive. And then we need to fix the why you're not productive, or what your concept of not being productive is, right?
And do they really want it though? A lot of people say, I want, but it's one thing to say, okay, well, will you put 20 minutes a day on that? Or will you slowly have a different view of how you, of like you said, why are you procrastinating? Like, why does someone procrastinate? Are you really to look deep down at a deeper level why this is happening? Like, I think and then that's when people start to get a little bit more shy, I find, and a little bit more quieter, and you have to dig a bit.
Yeah, that's for sure. But so, okay, so you do hypnosis. Now, I think most of us are used to having that image of hypnosis like we see in the movies, where you get someone on stage and then you make them bark like a dog for the next, I don't know how, every time the doorbell rings or they hear a specific noise. So what are some of the misconceptions, and what actually is hypnosis?
So hypnosis is, I'm not going to give you like a dictionary version, but I'll give you a layman's term, Brooke's layman's terms, which is we get you very relaxed. I compare it to, when you first wake up and you're very groggy right before you go to bed, that extreme state of grogginess, and a little bit of haziness. That's where we're trying to get you. Why? Because if someone is very having a lot of stimuli by their outside atmosphere, or they're thinking about their grocery list, or paying their hydro bill, or packing their kids' lunch, they can't focus on on the attention at hand, at the task at hand, which is
Mhm.
release and growth. So we get the person very relaxed. We don't, no one blacks out. They remember what happens. We cannot push anything on someone that they don't want to do. Like I cannot get their PIN number to their bank card or anything like that. And to be hypnotized, someone has to be in agreement and want to be hypnotized. So therefore, I cannot push hypnosis as the method itself cannot be pushed. It's like saying like I can make someone like you can make someone do yoga, but to get them in the zone of yoga where they're actually completely in the flow, you cannot make
Yeah.
someone do that. They have to give their free will and want to do that. So it's the same idea. So there's free will. The person has to want to be hypnotized, meaning they want to work on things on a subconscious level to they want to get results, um, that they're willing to do that, and that I'm helping guide them that they're actually hypnotizing themselves, and I'm helping guide their journey of their self hypnosis. I'm guiding it and helping them in that in a way the person is actually hypnotizing themselves.
Okay. That's amazing.
Yeah. And the second, because you had a question about the stage and the barking, that's a great question. So just like for the medical industry, there's getting your appendix out, or I could get Botox in my face or filler. Like there's the medical industry, but there's so many divisions of it. Same with hypnosis. So what you're talking about is theatrical hypnosis or comedic hypnosis. So that's for entertainment. That is not for healing, well-being, coaching.
Mhm.
So that is something completely different. You see that in cruise ships. You see that like at colleges. That's for entertainment. Um, those people agreed to that. They're having a little bit of fun, but it's one thing being alone in a room with the hypnotist or being on a confidential Zoom meeting and unpacking things and talking about where people's blocks are and then agreeing to be hypnotized and then going through those blocks.
Okay. Interesting. It's good to have that clarification because I think a lot of times when we speak to people, there's all these misconceptions and these preconceived notions of what something is. And if there's something I've learned in life, right? I'm almost 40 also, is um, the world is not as it seems. There's so much more to us and the world.
Yeah, and movies always exaggerate everything, right? And there's obviously, if someone saw the movie Get Out, that's a really intense movie because there's actually it's interesting because there's about race dynamics and they like almost kidnap the guy there, but I believe they drugged him in that movie. And that is like they in Hollywood and stuff, they always take the most extreme
Yeah.
idea of something. Like they always got to gimmick it, um, sensationalize things. That
Hmm.
is a sensationalized look at things. It's like sometimes, someone might see them and be like, oh my gosh, that's not hypnosis. It's like when they show, those kooky psychiatrists in those thriller movies. Does
Yes.
that mean don't see any psychologists because they might be kooky, like you saw that someone saw in a psychological thriller? No, that was for
Yeah.
entertainment.
Yeah. And so now the question is, like this podcast, mostly entrepreneurs will listen to it. How can hypnosis help an entrepreneur build their vision, grow their business, you know, build their future?
Yes. So there's two things, and I'm always going to say back at it, probably till the day I retire, is self concept, building a self concept. So let's go into a little bit more what even self concept is, because it's such a new idea and new term that I think a lot of most people don't know what it is unless they're in this industry, and even some people in this industry don't know that term. So self concept is the true core beliefs we believe about ourselves. Am I worthy? Am I chosen? Am I successful? Am I a successful entrepreneur? Is my natural state wealth? Do I have a problem acquiring resources and networking for my business? Do I have a problem acquiring wealth to grow my business? So why someone would do coaching or hypnosis is because they want to take a hard look at really what really is their belief. It's one thing if I ask, Brooke, are you confident? And we're like, of course, anyone. Yes, I'm confident. No one's gonna say no, I'm not. But if I look at the thoughts that I have throughout the day and the little things I say to myself in my mind, or when I'm given an opportunity, for example, I can say I'm confident, but some people are invited to an interview, to a podcast, and they back out because they think they're confident. But when the occasion really arises, there's escapism and avoidism. That's why self-concept is so important, because there's lies that we tell ourselves that who we are and what we are, but it's one thing to sit down and realize who we are. It's like the scale. A lot of the time people think like, oh, I didn't gain that much weight. It's been 5 or 10 pounds, and they go on the scale and they gain 20 pounds because our mind wants to protect ourselves. We want to feel safe and comfortable and naturally wants to protect ourselves, that we don't have to always face the big questions. So it's self-concept. So hypnosis can help with self-concept.
Yeah.
So that's number one. 2, hypnosis for entrepreneurs, which is one of the services that I offer, is career entrepreneurism and career advancement. I have a program. Why? Because the more that we act as in we're in the end, and the more that we can visualize the next step of our business or who we are in our business, the more clear we can have an image of that lifestyle, how we act, what we look like. Yes, there's the business plan. Yes, there's budgeting. That's all great. But if we can't envision ourselves in the next level of our business, it's going to take twice as long to get there. So what does the normal day look like in the next level of your business? How do you dress? What clothes are you wearing? What colors are you wearing? How are you doing more phone calls then? Are you doing more interviews then? How do you interact with your clients? If you're in the next level of your business, how do you interact with your clients? Okay, start already acting like that. Start dressing like that. Start talking like that. Start, a lot of successful people, they've worked on their self-concept. So am I taking 5, 10, 15 minutes a day to work on my self-concept, to say certain affirmations that I believe about myself and my business, which I believe is similar to NLP?
Yes.
What am I doing working on the vision of me 6 months from now? What am I doing every day to work on that vision? So hypnosis can do that.
And I think it's important now to just throw in, not to take the spotlight from you, but this is very different for the viewers, the listeners, depending on if you're listening or watching. This is not fake it till you make it. It's become it.
Yes. But at the same time, some people do have a block and they're like, I can't envision that. And I do have to say, well, just pretend anyway.
Yes.
But you're right. The goal is, after a couple of weeks, it shouldn't be fake. It should start to be downloaded. It should start to be in the subconscious, in the psyche. Yes, we want the consciousness, but we want it more in the subconscious and deep in the psyche and as core beliefs in that individual.
Yeah. So now we're about the same age, and I love to ask this question to people because with age comes wisdom, hopefully, knock on wood. If you can talk to younger Brooke, what would you say?
Oh, I try not to bring an encyclopedia of advice. And this is, again, because I worked on the self-concept. This thing for advice for me, and it's really advice for anyone, really is stop looking for it's like the Elon Musks in the world, and maybe they're not the epitome of like the perfect person by any means, but it shows like the audacity and the vision, right, of somebody. And it's to not look to others for acceptance. Everything we need, and the only acceptance we need and everything we need to succeed is in ourselves. We were born with it. We don't need a guru to tell us that we've made it. We don't need, like, yes, we all want acceptance from our parents and things like that, or a parental figure. But what we really need to do is fully love and accept ourselves, and the congratulations we truly need and the acceptance we truly need is from ourselves. And if we don't have that, again, we can't go to the next level of our life or our business. So what I tell Brooke is, stop looking to everyone else for acceptance, and to say, well, you can do this now in your business. Oh, you're allowed to accomplish this. That to no longer look to everybody else to tell me I've made it or I can go somewhere, but to have that just from within me, that I made it, I am going to make it, and I'm going to achieve everything that I need to achieve.
I think that's some of the best advice I've heard, and it's funny because I ask this question of everyone and I never answer it myself, but I think something that I would also say is it's okay to not be perfect.
Yes, absolutely.
We strive, like I see my kids, and obviously I didn't raise them their whole lives. I've only been raising them the past year and a bit, but there's this perception that everybody else is perfect except them, you know and I think that the techniques that you use are going to be helpful, for that type of I call it a syndrome, that
Oh,
everybody else.
this is an epidemic. This
Yeah.
epidemic of, and you can see it in the road rage. You can see it in the way that people talk to each other in society right now and interact with each other, especially, unfortunately, uh, I'll say, like, we're in Montreal, and it's an epidemic. People need to do with self-work, and that's why everybody's burnt out. Almost anyone who's not doing the self-work or having a coach, or either, it's very rare that naturally someone has no coach or did no program and they're somehow did all the
Yes.
self-work. There are a few. I don't know. Maybe I'd be surprised if there's 10 in Montreal. But there are a few
Or
people
in the
like that
world.
who, yeah. But the rest would have to be, take a program, coaching, have a mentor, some sort of guideline.
Yeah.
And that's why everyone's burnt out and tired. And that's why people constantly, like, yes, there's COVID, but constantly like canceling on plans, or that I feel that's why there's even a shortage right now of, like, you call a plumber, you call a painter, you need an accountant. There's a shortage because people are burning out, because people are having to go through the same blockages in their life over and over, and our society is not showing that there's a solution, and we have a way to be free psychologically. We have a way to be happy, have money, to have the career we want, to be loved, to love ourselves, to have time for our family. We have this opportunity. The question is getting the info out there.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I know hypnosis can help. And I always say almost everyone, because if your mind is really closed off, then, anytime your mind is closed off when it comes to mentoring, coaching, hypnosis, NLP, any of
Exactly.
those things, it's not going to work. But who do you feel your technique, the Brooke technique, works best for?
Oh, you put that so eloquently. Thank you. I like that. So my niche, or my technique, I've noticed is, it's women who've gotten a little bit more mature in their life, and they've noticed that things aren't going the way they want them to go, and they're seeing the same patterns over and over, and they're tired of seeing those same patterns, and they've tried many other modalities and it just wasn't a fit for them, and they're deciding, listen, I want to try something else. I want to try something new. I'm kind of at my wit's end. And my niche tends to be women 30 to 50. It tends to be women. I have taken male clients, but what I've noticed, comes to see me the most is women between 30 and 50, and a lot of the time women of color. Again, of course, I will take any client. I would love I'm like to help everybody, but that tends to be, and when I say women of color, it could like be Sri Lankan, or Oriental, or from African or Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I work with all people, but that tends to be the women who come to see me, are those binge eating, stress management. That tends to be a lot of the type of clients that come to see me.
Okay. I have no doubt in my mind that you're helping your clients because you have such a passion for it also. And, you know, the world's not a perfect place. And unfortunately, that causes us to have to work on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we all have a huge potential in life. And I think that the hypnosis would really help untap that. It's about untapping your potential.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And I always say any coaching, because, like you said, I do this out of, like, I call it humanship, that agape love. I do this out of, if we're all thriving, it's obviously a better community, a better planet. And, it's a time for, and I know this is more of a business podcast and entrepreneur, but we're obviously, in my opinion, we're definitely, things are changing. We're definitely seeing like a new era of, a different approach to healing, and mental health and wellness and alignment. So I tell everyone now, just get some coaching. Please just get some coaching, get a coach. And I always tell people, lots of coaches take payment plan. The idea is that for entrepreneurs or anyone who wants to grow, even if they're not an entrepreneur watching your podcast, anyone who wants to grow, go to the next level, get a coach. They take payment plans. Some coaching is, $200 a program. Some coaching is $2,000, and they always have payment programs. What matters is the person wants to grow. They want to go to the next level of their life. They either want to make more money, or they want to get rid of stress, or they don't want to go through the same blockages again. Just find the right coach and get some coaching and go from there.
I think it's very sage advice.
It's like, I can save them pain for the next 10 years. Just get a coach.
Yeah, it's I don't think I could have chosen better words.
And people are thinking it's only for entrepreneurs to get a coach or really woke people. No, this is anyone who's struggling and they're tired of the same caca in their lives, the same problems. Then it's time to get a second perspective and get someone to help them get to the level that they need to get to.
I know a guy who has a t-shirt, and I love it, that says CEOs are people too, right? So even as a business coach, I don't coach the business. I coach the people in the business. I coach the business owner. I coach the employees. I coach the investors, the partners, I'm still coaching people, not the bit. Like I can't talk to a business. It's not tangible. I'm not going to come in and talk to the t-shirts you're selling, right? So, and I think that is often, I walk into a room and getting ready to coach like this business owner who has money, and they're like, you need to tell me how to make more money. And I said, you need to tell me why you don't make more money. What's blocking you? And they always look at me as if I just sprouted not 2 heads, but 3 heads, because I have to sit down and say, I need to know what's blocking you, what's blocking your team, what's stopping you from reaching the next level.
Because they thought you'd only ask surface level questions. And when you really ask, well, what's going on in your home life? What's going on? Why are you sabotaging your finances? Why do you talk like that to your staff? La, la, la. And you have to get them to really look at a deeper level. And that's why the 3 heads grow on them.
Yeah. And I'm a coach, and I am the parent of a special needs kid. And I needed to get coaching to help me learn how to deal with a special needs kid, right? I knew nothing about special needs when I got her. I knew nothing about her culture when I got her. It was just, as a foster parent, the doorbell rings and here's a child, right? And so, even though I'm a coach, I still knew I needed the help of somebody else to help me learn how to deal with situations that arise, having a child that is different.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
And it doesn't necessarily go with what you just explained, but there's one other gem I want to share before we depart, which is a breakthrough I found just through my life journey, but definitely through coaching and hypnosis, is that a lot of people, I think we're all here for a reason, right? We're all gifted. We're all here for a reason. And when we're not using our gifts and talents, really why we're here, because a lot of people wonder, like, why are we here? Well, in my opinion, to help humanity, to heal humanity, and to share our gifts and talents. And when we're not sharing our gifts and talents, when we're just in our blockages and we're so deep in a blockage that it hinders our gifts and talents that we're supposed to be contributing to society and humanity, this to me is when depression sets in, anxiety sets in, and severe negative thought, and even sickness in the body. So sometimes people are afraid to really to break out of their monotony, the systematic rut they're in of a safe industry or a safe job or a safe career, when they know that they're really supposed to be doing whatever passion, gift, or talent that they're really meant for. And once they go through that way and start going that way, even self-hate, the doubt, and this depression starts to recede, because they're really walking in their alignment, they're walking in their purpose. So that's one thing I think is important, and that we need to share in our society, and that will help people get healthier and get more mentally well.
Yeah. I mean, I also strongly believe that we need to bring back the sense of community, um, and that sense of, when we say it takes a village, but let's face it, many of us no longer have a village because of how we've evolved in social media. And I know it sounds hypocritical because this will be shared on
No,
many
you're right.
social media
You're right.
platforms, but I think that mixed in with that fear of being you or not knowing who you are or fear of getting to know who you are is really affecting us on a deeper level than just being a keyboard warrior, because that's what we see now, right? We've all turned into.
Yes, they've taken away our real tribe, and now what they're doing is they're going to put a synthetic tribe. So
Yeah.
Facebook, I met with another coach and was explaining that Facebook's going to turn that we don't, when we see our feed, we don't see individuals really. We're only seeing groups now,
Yeah.
mostly because they notice that we like a tribe, but it's almost in real life, where's our tribe, but we're given our online identity tribe or a synthetic tribe. But the real power, like you said, we need our in IRL, right? Our in real life tribe, our 3D
Yeah.
tribe. So yeah, I agree.
So maybe, I usually don't do this and it just popped in my head now. And this is how my brain works. If you're listening to this, make it a point to go meet somebody in real life after you read this. Call up a friend, go have a coffee, go for a walk. I don't know what the lockdown rules are wherever you are in the world, but find a way to see a human face in person.
Yeah. Or at least do video calls. Like
Yeah.
there are people who are scared to still meet up because someone in their family
Yeah.
has a health condition. Or now I just ask people, do you want, instead of a phone call, I say, do you want to do a video call?
Yeah. That's a
Yeah,
great
but
idea.
definitely real life is better.
Yeah.
Obviously, real life is better if possible.
If you
Yeah.
can, if you can, right?
Yeah. Yes, if you can.
I've actually, my best friend once, we just drove up next to each other. We were still in our own cars and we just spoke to each other through the windows at the beginning of the pandemic because we missed each other so much. So,
Yes,
yeah, so there's a way.
definitely.
Brooke, thank you so much for being here today. This was phenomenal.
Great. Could I give my website and a little info how to reach me?
Yeah, of course, it will also be in the comments, but you can give it now also.
Perfect. So if someone would like to reach me or see more about what I do, I'm at www.newmindhypnosis.ca. And I also have a Facebook page also. So, but the website's the best way to get a hold of me or to find out more.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Again, it will be in the description on Podbean, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on LinkedIn. So you will be able to get all that information on how to reach Brooke. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Adaptive Human podcast. I wish you all happiness and success.